Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful, this healing day. This healing day. Let's hear ya. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing day. This healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Beautiful day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful day. This beautiful day. My wonderful friends. Take it, Paul. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful day. This beautiful day.
Good morning. And I have to say it, Happy New Year. Yeah, anybody else love this new year as much as I do? That reset button. I cannot wait to see what 2025 has for all of us. Oh, and I love how the musicians got us started. Should we say a special thank you to them? Kind of fun to see Paul Saran on the stage too. We don't usually get to see him. Yeah. Hello over there. All right. Well, I'm Nancy Reynolds, your host this morning, and also a member of the Center and a former member of the Center's Board of Trustees in my favorite place to be on Sunday mornings at the Center with all of you. I'd like to also say hello and welcome to everyone who's watching on YouTube. We are so grateful that you're with us as well. So hello, Happy New Year, and welcome. Author Brené Brown said, "True belonging doesn't require us to change who we are. It demands that we be who we are." I'd like to say, too, that it allows us to be who we are. And when I look back over my time at the Center, I can see that, well, I've gotten to know myself more, and it's allowed me, being here has allowed me to really be all of who I am. It's a beautiful invitation, isn't it, to belong somewhere. Our work at the Center is guided by our vision and mission. Would you please join me in speaking those aloud? The Center for Spiritual Living is a spiritual community that promotes global transformation through personal transformation. Our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. We are motivated by a compelling global vision that inspires us to bring the gifts of compassion, integrity, and loving kindness to the world through our programs and teaching. Together, we are helping create a world that works for everyone. You can find our global vision on the homepage of our website. Simply look for the words, "We are one," and that will click you right through to the entire global vision. Here's a small part of it. We envision a world where communities are meaningfully involved in service to the world. There are 5 foundational spiritual practices that we teach at the center that support us in fulfilling on the global vision. Would you read those with me as well? Spiritual study, affirmative prayer, meditation, selfless service, spiritual circulation. Thank you. We would now like to extend an extra warm welcome to our first-time visitors. If you are with us for the first time today, I'd like to invite you to stand as you're able or simply raise your hand. One of our ushers would like to bring you a welcome packet and a flower as a token of gratitude for being with us this morning. Welcome. Thank you. And if you are watching online for the first time, we'd love for you to leave us a comment so we know that you're here. Welcome to you as well. I trust that somewhere between the music, the meditation, the prayer, the practices, and the message from Reverend Russ is exactly what each of us needs for the next step of our spiritual journey. Again, welcome to the center this morning. And now let's enjoy this next song, which will lead us into a time of silent contemplation and prayer.
As I say a tender yes to everything that comes to me, my heart is open, I am free. I open to all that is, it brings me to my knees. I surrender, I am peace. As I say a tender yes to everything that comes to me, my heart is open, I am free. I open to all that is, it brings me to my knees. I surrender, I am peace. I open to all that is, it brings me to my knees. I surrender, I am peace. I surrender, I am peace.
opening to that allness of life right here. This one presence, this one source, this one ground of being that holds all of creation. It is that infills everything, everyone, unfolds through life anew, moment by moment, breath by breath. This one called God, Spirit, the Divine. It simply is ever present. And so I know it as the very life of my life right now as I am, holding and feeling, unfolding through me. And I know it as the truth of each and every one here, each and every one hearing this word and beyond. It is that infills in that unfolds anew moment by moment. For it is ever creating anew out of its wholeness. And so I know this truth for and about us right now, in this community, in this one global world, this one life. This one presence holds us, abides, opens the way before us. It's so good to come home in conscious awareness of this truth. And in gratitude, I simply let go. I surrender into that divine embrace. And I let this be. And so it is. Amen. Good morning. I'm Ruth Barnhart, a minister here at our center. Please join with me in reading this morning's affirmation. I stand on solid thoughts to direct the flow of my life.
Well, let's do it again with what's on the screen. Sorry, Ruth.
Oh dear, so much about for my reading skills. Okay, join with me. I embrace spiritual guidance and the peace it brings. And so it is. So much better. Thank you.
Where I am, God is. Where I dance, God is standing strong. And where I breathe, God is breathing life in and out and through me. As me, where I sing, God is. And where I dance, oh, joy lifts my feet. And where I live, oh, beauty's flowing free, in and out and through me. As me, where I doubt, God is the faith in me. Where I cry, God is the comfort there. Where I seek, God is the answer, here and now, forever and ever and ever. Where I speak, truth is. Where I work, God is. God is.
Good morning. Happy New Year. Can we share some more love with Atreyu and Chris and Paul and Nick? Thank you for sharing that beautiful song. I have so many fond memories of that song. I was telling Chris earlier that in my first New Thought spiritual community, we would sing that song almost every Sunday. So I have a fond place for it in my heart. It is a new year. How about that? And I love the new year because it always feels like a time of renewal and a time of new beginnings. And I'm delighted to share that I had the honor and the privilege yesterday of officiating the very first baby blessing that our community has had since the pandemic. It was for Raina and Andrew Chiesa and their little baby River, who is getting bigger and bigger every single day. And I love to bring that up because we're talking today about our spiritual nature. And I got to tell you, when I look at babies, they cannot help but share their spiritual nature with us. So I just wanted to share that with you all. It's so wonderful to hear that. All right. I have to share with you, I love watching TED Talks. If you've ever been in a class with me, you know this because there's a good chance that there's a TED Talk that's going to be part of our lesson. And I love watching TED Talks because the goal of a TED Talk is to share a new idea, perhaps in a new way, to make us consider something that we'd never thought about before. And recently I watched this TED Talk by a cognitive scientist who is called Lena Boroditsky, and she studies the impact of language upon the mind. That sounds a very new thought to me. And in her TED Talk, she shares an example about the Aboriginal Gugu Yimithirr language, which is a language that only about 800 people still speak in the world, and how their language has shaped their very way of thinking, their very culture, because in Gugu Yimithirr, there are not words for left and for right. They don't have words for forward and backward. Instead, they have words in their language for the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. So if you were to ask, what hand am I holding this piece of paper in Gugu Yimithirr, I would have to answer you based on which direction I'm facing. So think about that for a moment. Because of that, their people have this uncanny sense of direction. They always know which direction they're facing. They always know which direction that they're traveling because they have to. They can't even say hello to one another without knowing where north is. That's something else. So their language has influenced how they approach the world, how they see the world, how they interact with one another. I love that because I would love to not have to use my GPS all the time to find out where the heck I am. So that makes me wonder, what if the words that I use, the language that I use, and the way that I use it, what if that means that if I change the way I use my language, that I might be able to change how I view and how I interact with the world? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're kicking off our yearly theme, which is called Rising Higher, Going Deeper, and our January theme, which is called Stretching into Possibility. And as I mentioned, our talk today is called My Spiritual Nature, and there are 3 ideas that I want to share with you today. And the first, and this is drawing upon what we talked about last Sunday about what spirit is and how it shows up. Well, the first idea is that because we are conscious and aware, creative beings, and because we have free will, that means that we have a choice in what it is that we create, and we get to choose how we create it. It turns out that our spiritual nature is, in fact, to be creative, and this creativity is how Spirit expresses itself through us. So that means that I get to choose how I express my spiritual nature, just like you get to choose. Okay, second idea. Language, the language that we use, the words that we use, no matter what language we speak, those words matter. Language is highly creative. It's the means by which we take our thoughts and we share them with the world. It's one of the most powerful tools we have to create a better life. The power of language, the power to communicate our thoughts and our ideas, it's one of the main ways that we are creative and that we express Spirit. And lastly, we can shift the use of our language, the way that we use our words, towards a way that's more rooted in kindness and compassion and love and possibility. And when we do that, we can change our lives and we can change the whole world just by changing our language. So when I consider my spiritual nature, I'm reminded of the time when I was in college and I was an undergrad, and my main area of study was English literature and literary theory. And for my whole life, I still do, by the way, I had this love of the English language, of literature, of how it all works. And I love how language can be used to create entire universes. So I consider myself a bit of an English nerd. And in fact, I remember, and maybe you remember this too, do you remember when text messaging first became a thing? Yeah, I had a flip phone then. And I was the guy who would spend 10 minutes on his flip phone with just those 9 little keys that had 3 letters each to properly capitalize all of my words, to use all of the commas and proper punctuation, and to make sure that my words were spelled correctly and had correct grammar. So you can imagine how happy I was when the BlackBerry and the iPhone came out, right, and it had a full keyboard. Oh boy, well, that was it. I'm also the guy today who has the audacity to tell Google and Microsoft when their grammar suggestions and their word applications are probably wrong. I also happen to love the Oxford comma. But I digress. As an English major, I got to read so many philosophical essays, and they shifted the way that I look at the world. They opened my mind, and they primed me for diving into this teaching that we share here, the science of mind. And they did that because each word was planting seeds in my consciousness, and those seeds grew my curiosity about how this world, this universe really works. So it's no surprise that I believe that language, all language, is beautiful. And the beauty of language, I found, is that it has the ability to convey not just ideas, but also emotion. For example, I like to read Rumi's poetry, and one of my favorite poems I'm going to share in a bit. And I love to read Rumi because I find that I feel the same things that I suspect he felt when he was inspired to write his poetry. So take a listen to these words from Rumi's poem, A Great Wagon. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. You know, so I have a hard time speaking that every time the emotions come up, it's like guaranteed to get the waterworks going for me. So I don't know if you had that experience too, but that's why I love that poem, and I love poetry, and I love language. And I think that's sort of the point of why Rumi shares in the way that he does, because really he's talking about spirit, he's talking about God, he is expressing with his poetry something that I often find impossible to express with language, and nevertheless he tries, and I think he succeeds very well. Language is staggeringly powerful. It's one of the primary ways that I found that I create my life and that I create my experience of the world around me. It quite literally shapes my perception of reality. So here's an example. Imagine, and this shouldn't be hard because we're in the rainy season right now, imagine that it's 50 degrees outside and it's raining. It's not doing that today, but we're in the rainy season. Here's two ways that I could describe that objective fact that it's 50 degrees outside and it's raining. Way number one, I am so sick and tired of this cold and rain. It is too wet, my knees are soggy, and I cannot breathe in all of this humidity. I feel like I'm drowning every time I go outside. I mean, whose idea was it anyway to throw all this freezing cold and rain at me? Don't they know who I am? Do you notice how that felt? I know we're laughing here, but when I speak that out loud, I'm like, I don't even like speaking it out loud. So let's try this other case on for size. I love it when the rainy season starts in Sonoma County. The brisk feel of the cool air on my skin is so invigorating, and I love the scent of fresh rain and how it makes me feel like I can smell all of the greenness and all of the life that rain is feeding. And I'm so grateful for my warm winter coat and my umbrella because it lets me go outside so I can really appreciate these things. And I especially love how when the rain comes, all of the creeks start running and I can go hiking and be in that beauty and that nature. I love it because I can look forward to all of the fields of flowers that I know are just waiting to bloom. How did that feel? I can tell you I enjoyed saying the second one a lot more than the first one. And the truth is, I'm describing the exact same thing. It's 50 degrees outside and it's raining, but based on how I describe it, I'm creating a very different reality within my mind and within the minds of all of those who are hearing me. The difference is what I choose to focus on. I can choose to focus on all the things that I hate about the weather, that it's too cold, that it's too wet, that it's too rainy, or I can choose to focus on what it is that I love about the weather. And what I noticed when I was writing this is it turns out that there was a lot more that I loved about that weather than I didn't love. Isn't that something? Now, this is the point in my talk where I have to share the disclaimer. And that's because we're all adults here, most of us. Hi, Hannah. Hi. So I'm not suggesting that we have to put a positive spin on the truly awful things that we sometimes witness in the world. As my grandparents would often say, sometimes you got to call a spade a spade. So it's important to me that I don't bypass the suffering that I witness in the world, that I don't try to make it something that it's not by glossing it over with positive language. It's okay to see and say that, yeah, this sucks, these things that are going on. In fact, Ernest Holmes shares with us on pages 51 and 52 of the Science of Mind textbook that it is easy enough to rush about shouting that there are no sick people, but this will never heal those who appear to be sick. It is easy to proclaim that there are no needy. Anyone can say this, whether they be wise or otherwise. If we are to prove such statements to be facts in our experience, we shall be compelled to do more than announce a principle, no matter how true it may be. Okay, disclaimer over. For most areas in my life, I've found that the way that I choose to use my language and to focus on what is good can be the difference between having a really great day versus having a really terrible day. It's the difference between having inspiration versus depression, having motivation instead of lethargy, the difference between having compassion and being indifferent. And I often wake up in the morning and I'll encourage myself to thank everyone that I see in my day just for being who they are. Because not only do I feel better when I do that, but I notice that the people around me do too. So here's a spiritual practice that you can try to discover how you use your language, because we all have to start where we're at. And it's very simple. Observe the way that you speak. Do it for a couple of weeks. Do it every day. You might even journal about it. And notice as you do this, does your language feel compassionate? Does it feel caring? Does it feel like it's coming from kindness and love? And that includes towards yourself as well as other people. And notice if it doesn't. Now, if there's a few days where you're grumpy, that's okay. I have those days too. But if you notice a trend, that's where there might be an opportunity to shift. And if you notice that, you can ask yourself, how can I change the words that I use so that they're more grounded in love and compassion and kindness towards myself as well as towards other people? I invite you to do that because I notice that when I am able to speak with compassion, with care, and with kindness, and when I focus on the things that I love, I notice that I get to experience more of those things in my life. So try that, and you might even see if you can find a person who is a really good role model for somebody who speaks in a way that is rooted in love and compassion. For me, that's Fred Rogers. We know him as Mr. Rogers because he always spoke in a way that reflected the love and the compassion that he held within his heart. And I think he was a master of seeing through loving eyes and then speaking that love in the world. So this is a practice that has shown me a lot of ways that I sometimes limit myself with my language. And philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein says, "The limits of my language mean the limits of my world." That's a lesson I had to learn the hard way. And I learned it the hard way because I grew up with what I like to lovingly call practical Midwestern pessimism. There's this general idea growing up in the Midwest, maybe those of us who've grown up in the Midwest will relate to this, that if I wasn't always focusing and expecting the absolute worst thing that could ever possibly happen, then I couldn't prepare for it and survive it when it inevitably did happen. Being pessimistic around others, it was like this badge of honor that we all wore, my friends and I. It was the way that we connected through our shared worry and misery and anxiety and complaining. Sure, we were all horribly depressed, but at least we were depressed together. And that's the problem. Yes, I was pretty prepared for every eventuality, but when my language was focusing only on the things that I was worried about and that I didn't like and that I didn't want to happen, it's no surprise that my life was filled with anxiety. It's no surprise that I struggled with depression and that generally I felt pretty miserable. It's no surprise that misery loves company and I made everyone around me feel miserable too. It was really hard for me then to recognize my spiritual nature. And it was certainly hard for me to see that spiritual nature in others. So that taught me something. It taught me that the language that I use and the way that I use it and the things that I focus on with my language, they all matter. They matter because I'm part of this amazing, singular, loving, infinite, divine mind that we're all a part of that is creating and living as me just as it's creating and living as you. We all share in this creative power. And language, words are the most powerful gifts that we have to shape the reality in which we live. It's one of the main ways that I've learned to recognize and to affirm and to focus upon my spiritual nature. In fact, one of the areas in my life that I'm working on, I've worked on for most of my life actually, is my confidence. I think it's something that many of us work on. And I'm reading this book by Dr. Nate Zinsser, who is a scientist. He studies confidence and he trains others to build a more confident outlook in their lives, especially with the things that they want to do with their lives. And he's trained military officers at West Point Academy, where confidence quite literally can be the difference between life and death. And he's also trained Super Bowl MVPs like Eli Manning and Olympic gold medalists. So he's kind of a big deal when it comes to confidence. And in his book, he shares this really important thing about confidence. He says that it begins with how we talk to ourselves. He says that there's a big difference in our mind between saying something like, I'm probably going to mess this up. And he encourages us instead to say, let's see just how well I can do this. That confidence can be the key between success and failure. Even though we might be well-trained and be skillful, if we're not confident when we apply those skills and those talents, well, that lack of confidence can get in the way and it can sabotage the way that we show up in the world. So knowing that I can use my language in this way to improve my confidence, it's been a really big shift for me. And that's helped me to notice that the way that I use my language, it doesn't just have a personal impact. The way that I use my language can have ripples and waves just like a rock thrown into a pond. Whether I'm using my language with one person or with a whole group of people, the words that I choose can profoundly shift the world, sometimes in ways that I can't even imagine. I mean, just look at all of the changes that happened to our world when this rural rabbi came from nowhere named Jesus. And he started to talk about how God was for us and not against us. Consider, too, what happened when brilliant women like Emma Curtis Hopkins and Emily Cady and Mary Baker Eddy and Myrtle Fillmore and Genevieve Barron and so many more spoke and wrote that we have this same creative power within us as that infinite divine from which we all come. They planted seeds that created the movement that we're in right now. We would not be sitting here. I would not be speaking to you if it was not for the words that came from these brilliant women. In fact, talking about women more recently, I started this project that was inspired by some tapes that Dr. Edwards shared with me of old talks by the late Reverend Helen Street. Does anybody here remember listening to her? We got a couple of people who've heard her, yeah. she was a New Thought minister in Glendale, California in the 90s. And I've been taking these cassette tapes because she had this really cool cassette tape ministry, and you could order her cassette tapes all around the world. It was very cool. And cassette tapes tend to wear out. So I've been taking them and I've been digitizing them so that we can preserve them. And the wonderful side effect of that is that I get to listen to every single talk when I do that, because I have to play it in order to be able to record it. And what I notice about the way that she speaks and that the way that she uses her language is her passion. Her passionate use of language has reinvigorated my experience of the science of mind and the core principles that it teaches. Her legacy lives on with us because of how she used her language, the way that she so clearly spoke about these concepts that we explore every day here at the center. Her words are still making waves. I mean, they certainly made waves with me. So all of this works, I believe, because the language that I use, the language that you use, well, it's a reflection of what's going on in our mind. And because of that, here's the secret. That means that I, just like you, can also use my language to shift what's going on in my mind. For example, the more that I use affirmations that remind myself of my spiritual nature, affirmations like, I am loved. Why don't you say that out loud? I am loved. Affirmations like this one I have to really use for myself here. I am worthy of love. Why don't you say that out loud? These affirmations, they plant seeds in our consciousness, and those seeds germinate and they grow, and they help us to have a deeper feeling and understanding of our spiritual nature. And over time, I've noticed that the more I do this, the more my natural state of being a spiritual being comes forth. That love and that compassion comes forth. And then I notice that it makes it safe for others to live from their love and their compassion. And the more of us do that, the more I know that our world will change. So here's a review of the things that we've talked about today. Our spiritual nature is that we are creative beings. And so that means that Spirit is constantly creating through us. Our unique power is that we get to choose what it is that we create and how we create it. And the second thing is that the language we use is itself creative, and so the way that we use it matters. We have an opportunity to change the language we use, to change how we use language. When we talk to ourselves and when we talk to others, we have an opportunity to use language that focuses on what's good, what comes from love, what's possible. And when we do that, we can then build lives that are rooted in compassion and kindness and possibility. And then lastly, language is so powerful that it can, and it has, changed the world. These changes, they begin in us by using our language to shift the ways that we talk to ourselves. And once we do that, then we can bring that shift into the world. It becomes a lot easier. Each positive, compassionate word that we share is like a pebble in a pond that sends gentle ripples of love all throughout the world. This is the power of language. It's the key to understanding our spiritual nature. Shall we take that into prayer? How good it is to know that Spirit is right here, that the infinite is present, and that it is always creating of itself, everywhere, everything. it creates from the infinite nature of its love, the boundless nature of its love, the unconditional nature of its love. It cannot help but create in love and be good. And so knowing this, I know that because this Spirit is all, that I am a part of that. And because I am one with that, so too is each and every person here and online. We are this infinite Spirit creating and living individually in all of our unique ways. We are that love, that creativity, and that goodness in human form. And so knowing this, I know that within us is a vast reservoir of words that connect us and bring us together from a place of compassion and kindness and love and creativity. I know for myself an opening of my heart that allows words of compassion and kindness to be my default, to be the go-to for my use of language. I know that the more that I do that, the more that my spiritual nature makes itself known. And so I invite that forth from all of the hearts who hear this prayer, knowing that within all of us, all of the words of love and compassion and kindness that we need to uplift and to transform our lives, those words are there. And so I am grateful for that, grateful for this power of language and the way that it positively shifts and uplifts all of our lives. With this gratitude, I simply release this word, these words, knowing that they are heard and that the universe responds in kind. I let it go and I let it be, and I invite us all to close together by saying, and so it is. I invite us all to take a nice deep breath, breathing in. Let out a big sigh. We use our breath to help us to transition to our practice of spiritual circulation in our community. And for me, this is actually another way of communicating, of using language. It's the language of generosity for me. So I am grateful for the generosity that everyone here shares with our community, whether you're sharing financially or volunteering, sharing your love and your laughter with this community. And if you choose to share financially, we do have a number of ways that you can give to this community. You can go online to our website, cslsr.org/donate. We also have text to give that I use myself. It's fast and it's easy. It works very well. And we are going to pass the baskets today. And before we pass the baskets, I invite our ushers to stand and to hold the sacred space as we enter our offering ritual. I invite you to hold close to your heart the compassion and the love that lives within you and allow it to infuse all the gifts that you share with this community and beyond. And then repeat after me, I bless my gift. I send it forth to heal and prosper. It does wonderful work in the world. And so it is. Ushers, please receive the gift.
Well, the problem may not be what you haven't got. See, you may have everything you need, and the proof can be found springing from the ground. There's a mighty tree from just a little seed. No, what we want here is to be very clear. Put your heart's desire first till we make up our mind. We're sure to find the questioning voice of the universe, asking what is your intention? What do you want to do to intention? What can I do for you? Tell me what is your intention? What do you want to be? And what, just tell me what will make you free. Well, you don't need to know just how it's gonna go. Give the details up for now, when there's nothing between you and your dream. That's more important than the when, where, or how. 'Cause life's a precious gold, an ember in your soul, waiting to become a fire. And no matter the choice, there's always a voice saying, I will give you more than you can desire. Just tell me what is your intention? What do you want to do? Tell me what is your intention? What can I do for you? Tell me what is your intention? What do you want to be? And what, just tell me what will set you free. Do it here, ask it now, make it clear just exactly how. And tell me what is your intention? What do you want to do? Tell me what is your intention? What can I do for you? Tell me what is your intention? What do you want to be? And what, just tell me what will bring you peace. Or tell me what, just tell me what will make you free. Oh, intention.
I think it's the offering song I always go into dreamland on. I just love that. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah. All right. Well, as much as I love Sundays, I also love that there's so much else going on at the center, and I'd like to share with you a few of those things. Sometimes I find that when I learn things at the center, especially new things, I need to talk it out a bit. And I find myself discussing things with my friends at the center, these ideas that we learn on Sundays and in classes. And I'm wondering if you feel that way too. And also if you might be interested in expanding your circle of friends at the center. And if you do, we've got the perfect thing for you. They're called Circles for Spiritual Connection, and they give you a chance to come together in intimate, small groups to discuss the Sunday message and to build relationships and friendships with people in the community. Our winter circles are going to be beginning this week. So if you've been thinking about joining one of the circles, now is the time. And there are two ways that you can sign up for these. The first is to stop by the information desk on your way out of the service today and fill out the information there so they can get you connected to a circle. And then you can also go to our website. There's an interest form on the website to sign up for a circle for connection, spiritual connection. Now, we know that flexibility is healthy for our bodies, and it turns out that it's healthy for our minds as well. Being flexible empowers us to meet challenges and changes with compassion and courage. Well, if you would like to embrace more flexibility in your life, I'd like to invite you to join certified Feldenkrais teacher Donna Hoover for her class, Awareness Through Movement. This is a 4-week class that begins on Tuesday, January 14th, and in it, Donna will gently guide us through movements to help grow our flexibility. There is a universal mind that is the origin of everything. Now, that is an excerpt from the first chapter of the Science of Mind book by our founder, Ernest Holmes. And Dr. Edward will be teaching a class based on the first 4 chapters of that book, starting on Tuesday, January 14th. And this class is called The Nature of Being. And in it, we will discover that anyone can grow their confidence with the Science of Mind teaching. Everyone is welcome to the class, and it is free for anyone who completed a giving intention form. As a way to introduce this next one, I'd like to pose a couple questions. Is it possible to stand up for what's right while also being compassionate? Can racist speech and actions be challenged without seeking harm for the other person? These are good questions, and we have a 6-week book study coming up that will explore these questions and offer tangible guidance on how to have conversations that make a difference. In fact, the book we'll be studying is called How to Have Anti-Racist Conversations, and that book study begins on Zoom on Thursday, January 16th. Now, I want to share with you something that one of our members recently shared with the center. They said, "The center is my home. It gives me the peace, joy, and understanding I need and use every day. I believe we are one. I love every Sunday I come here, and I'm so happy I have found this place." That pretty much sums up how I feel about being at the center too. And it also is very much what prompted me to find out what it means to be a member of the center. Now, you too can be a member of the center, and if you'd like to find out what that means and how that happens, Dr. Edward is leading the next membership orientation class on Sunday, January 26th. Everything I just mentioned, you can find out about on our website and register, sign up, and get involved in all of those. Now, I want to mention something coming up next Sunday. This one is very near and dear to my heart. If you've been around for a while, you know that we have a cycling team that does the ride with the AIDS life cycle from San Francisco to Los Angeles. It's a 545-mile ride to raise money for people living with HIV and preventing HIV and AIDS. And the next ride is coming up in June, but the next bake sale fundraiser is next Sunday. So I'd like to invite you to join them next Sunday, our riders. We have 6 or 8 riders on the team. They'll tell you all about the ride. They have each committed to ride those miles and also to raise a minimum of $3,500 each. And I want you to know that this community is the wind beneath their wings. You all have helped them raise so much money over the years. So I invite you to come to the bake sale, and also if you are a baker, to feel free to donate something for the sale. Okay, last thing for me, we've got new art in the social hall. I hope you'll take a look and see that. Lorna Ho has put up her art, and I think Lorna is here today, so I hope you'll have a chance to meet her. All right, and now Reverend Russ has a couple things to share with us, so I'll turn it back over to him.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Some of you are signed up for our visioning workshop today. If you haven't signed up, though, and you'd like to both learn about visioning as a spiritual practice and have an opportunity to go through a visioning and do a vision board, that is going to be at 1 p.m. today. And I love visioning. I love visioning so much because it has truly shifted the way that I look at not just my life in the world, but also my relationship with myself, because the more I use it, the more I recognize that within me lives that spiritual nature that knows what to do when often this thing up here hasn't the faintest idea. So we're going to have a beautiful visioning with music and dive into the questions and open up our hearts to listen to what Spirit has to share with us. And then we're going to make vision boards. And we've got all sorts of magazines and goodies for that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you there. Also, I want to encourage you to pick up an education catalog on the way out if you haven't, or if you're watching online, you can find it on our website. And the reason for that is education, more than anything, for me, has shifted and moved me and brought me closer to this teaching than anything else that I've experienced in the science of mind. And that's something that I want for you too. So we've got all kinds of classes, like you heard Dr. Edwards' classes coming up. We have Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life that's coming up as well. And you'll hear more about those as we move into the middle of January. Okay. All right, before we close, if you are having a challenging time, if you would like to have spiritual support and have one of our practitioners help you to remember your own spiritual nature, I invite you to take advantage of our after-service prayer. If you're watching online, the information should be below the screen here telling you how you can join on Zoom and have a free confidential prayer. If you're here in our sanctuary, you can go back to Karen in the corner there, and she will send you to one of our fabulous practitioners who will know the truth of the universe and the truth of you for you. So please take advantage of that. All right, I invite us all to stand and repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is this thing called life. Life is in my mind, life is in my body, and life is in my affairs. I think it, I feel it, and I accept it, just the way that it is, and just the way that it is not. Thank you, life. Please know with me that you are never alone, that Spirit is right where you are, that you have only to look within at any moment to know that you're guided, sustained, and empowered by a presence that expresses itself as you in this world. In deepest gratitude, let us live our lives accordingly so that in everything that we do and we say and we think, we honor this presence within. And so it is. Enjoy the closing music and have a wonderful week.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Let's hear you. Ready? I release. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, no more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only